Welcome to the next video on VAP. In the previous video, we have talked about triple bottom line or TBL and seen the components of it, that is social, environmental and economic. And we have also seen that if we represent these by circles like social, environmental and economic, then the region where all these three components meet or have their existence is referred to as sustainability. So what exactly sustainability is? Basically, it focuses on meeting the needs of present. So sustainability focuses on the meeting of needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations. This is the most important thing. So this will not going to compromise the ability of future generations to meet their needs. As discussed earlier, the concept of sustainability is composed of three pillars, also known informally as profits, planet and people, corresponding to the factors like economic, environment and social. Now suppose if only profit was considered, what would have happened? Take an example. Let us consider one chemical plant. It shows a monetary profit, but it discharges a hazardous waste into groundwater and the river flowing beside the plant. Now the government ends up spending taxpayers' money on healthcare and river cleanup to ensure a safe municipal water supply and negate the effects of pollution. If only profit was considered, then the full societal cost benefit analysis was not possible. So in this video we are going to discuss about the sustainability principles attributed to Paul Anastas and Julie Zimmerman. So let us start one by one. We are going to see, also known as 12 principles of green engineering. First principle is inherent rather than circumstantial. Second one is prevention instead of treatment. Third, design for separation. Fourth, maximize efficiency. Fifth, output pulled versus input pushed. Sixth, conserve complexity. Seventh, durability rather than immortality. 8. Meet need, minimize access. 9th, minimize material diversity. 10th, integrate material and energy flows. 11th, design for commercial afterlife. 12, renewable rather than depleting. So these are 12 principles of green engineering. Now we will discuss in detail one by one. So let us start discussing the first principle, inherent rather than circumstantial. What exactly the principle is? Designers need to strive to ensure that all materials and energy inputs and outputs are as inherently non-hazardous as possible. What does it mean? In case of materials, designers need to select chemicals or materials made from or with chemicals whose properties will not cause harm to environment or to the people throughout their life cycle. So first principle is talking about this. Let us come to the second principle, prevention instead of treatment. So what exactly it says? It is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up waste after it is formed. As we have seen in the example at the start of this lecture, that we talked about a chemical plant and government is spending taxpayers' money on cleaning or treating up the waste. So what exactly it says? Make only the amount that is needed for the process at hand. Otherwise, we have to pay twice for something we didn't need in the first place. So this was the second principle. Now coming on to the third one, design for separation. What exactly it says? Separation and purification operations should be designed to minimize energy consumption and materials use. Basically, industrial separation processes are very energy intensive, and to implement this principle, what exactly we need? We need more applications of energy efficient but often it may have more capital intensive technologies. So these applications will have to be developed for implementing the principles of design for separation. Coming on to the next one, maximize efficiency. Products, processes and systems should be designed to maximize mass, energy, space and time efficiency. So we are talking about these dimensions. So what exactly it does? It maximizes or focuses on maximizing the efficiency. This is achieved by informing scientists and engineers to create designs that maximize efficiency in multiple areas such as mass, energy, space, that is real estate and time. So we have to consider this. Next principle is output pulled versus input pushed. What exactly it says? Products, processes and systems should be output pulled rather than input pushed through the use of energy and materials. Let us understand this principle because this is of very much importance. You must have heard about Abraham Maslow. In his saying, one of the famous saying was that to a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. This is one of the familiar saying attributed to Abraham Maslow. So what exactly we are talking about? Let us understand. Material availability, combined with the economies of large scale facilities, have brought enormous value to the quality of life. Generic feedstocks and large facilities, however, will inevitably generate some waste. So all these things are going to generate waste. This principle suggests that the availability of hammers is not only consideration. Rather, one must consider the real and immediate need for items to be nailed. So the need should be pulled. That is, the need should pull the act of production rather than the ease and cost of production driving the need. So what exactly it says in simple terms, the output must be based on need, not on the ease and cost of production driving the need. So it must be output pulled rather than input pushed. Input is what? Materials and all those facilities. It is available, easily available, but we are not going to push the input. Next, conserve complexity. Embedded entropy and complexity must be viewed as an investment when making design choices on recycle, reuse or beneficial disposition. Next principle, durability rather than immortality. Targeted durability, not immortality, should be the design goal. Meet need, minimize access. Design for unnecessary capacity or capability, that is, for example, one size fits all solutions should be considered a design flaw. So next principle, minimize material diversity. Material diversity in multi-component products should be minimized to promote disassembly and value retention. Next, integrate material and energy flows. Design of products, processes and systems must include integration and interconnectivity with available energy and material flows. Next, design for commercial afterlife. Products, processes and systems should be designed for performance in a commercial afterlife. Last principle is renewable rather than depleting. It is one of the important principles. That is, material and energy input should be renewable rather than depleting. What exactly it means? As increased demand meets an ever-shrinking resource supply, prices for commodity materials and energy will rise. Definitely. Further, there are environmental costs as well as to continue the reliance on non-renewable raw materials. So what exactly we have to do? We have to select the renewable materials and energy so that we can address this negative effect. So in summarization, we can say that focus of these principles is mainly on the use of non-hazardous and renewable material, preventing waste, minimizing energy consumption and maximizing energy efficiency, disintegration under natural conditions, avoiding one-size-fits-all solutions, promoting dismantle for cyclic use, promoting afterlife for material products and systems. These principles and methodologies are articulated to accomplish the goals of environmentally friendly and cost-effective designs. Further, these principles are powerful enablers for sustainable futures because on one hand, they address optimization at molecular level and on the other hand, the principles address system level re-engineering. References are these websites and the module on professional ethics and sustainability. Thank you.